My name is Caroline, and today I'm coming your way to talk to you about what it means to own a business, to run a business, to be an entrepreneur, and whether registered or non-registered, what it means to make a profit and to be compliant. Now we're going to talk about the business types that are available in South Africa. And in South Africa, what you can do is you register a company, and it's called a PTY, Proprietary Limited, or you can register what we call a non-profit company, and the other term is an INC company, which is what we register for doctors, for lawyers, for attorneys, for accountants, because they're a specific profession. The other type of business that is there is a partnership or a sole proprietor. Now, those are not necessarily registered at CIPC, but they are types of businesses that are run. What is the common denominator with all of these? Well, everybody gets into business to make a profit, I would assume. So what you would have is you'd have your costs and you'd have your turnover, which is what we call your sales. You'd have your customers, and those customers or those clients, when you invoice them, they would then result in sales. Of course, your costs can vary, can range from anything to, raw materials if you're manufacturing, or they can be just, if you say, for instance, you're running an events company, then you're hiring a hall or you're hiring a venue. Those are costs. For some people, it's just a phone bill, that's their cost. For those who are in the service industry, perhaps it's just salaries that are your cost, or just your software or your Wi-Fi. All of those are legitimate business costs that SARS will allow when you're submitting your tax return, and when you're doing your financials, you are actually allowed to include in order to then arrive at the profit or the loss that as a business you would have made. I often get asked the question, what am I going to be taxed on? Is it the gross earnings or is it the net earnings? And I'd like to make it very clear, there is no way that any business would have to pay tax on the gross amount that they have made. You are allowed to deduct expenses that are business related. So here we're talking about insurance, telephones, we're talking about printing and stationery, we're talking about petrol, we're talking about rentals. All the expenses that you incur as a business are allowed to reduce your final figure, and then in the end you have what we call a net profit or a net loss. And I'm speaking in simple terms because I realize my audience is anything from small businesses to the larger businesses and people that have been in business for a long time. Having said all that, there is returns that you would need to submit, and that's where the compliance aspect comes in. If you register a business with CIPC, not only do you submit returns to CIPC annually, you also need to submit your provisional and income tax returns to SARS, on which you're declaring whether you've made a profit or not. You need a registered accountant to be able to do financials for you and be able to establish whether you've made a profit or loss. Now, you will not pay tax if you've made a loss. However, you still need to submit that return. Likewise, if you register a business and you do not actually trade for 2 to 3 years, you are still required to submit your dormant return or your nil tax return, because there's no other way SARS will know that you're not trading. Otherwise, the expectation is that you've been trading and you've just not submitted a return. Now, a lot of people have received phone calls, emails, SMSs from SARS telling them that they are owing SARS in penalties. And the reason why is that SARS has gone back to the date of registration, and if no tax returns were ever submitted, penalties are then levied and returns need to be made. Now, once you submit the returns and bring the company up to date, then the penalties stop accruing. However, that same penalty remains in place unless you apply for what we call a remission of that penalty. Join me next time when I talk about these and other matters on my channel. Please subscribe and like our channel and follow us. My name is Caroline and I'm chatting to you from Johannesburg, South Africa. Have a lovely day.